Hey everybody, welcome back to Fleetyards Mission Briefing. As always, I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Carl Cockings. Welcome back, guys.
And today, as always on Fleetyards Mission Briefing, we're going to look at a ship from sci-fi and we're going to talk about it, discuss it, maybe even learn a few things about it. But overall, we're just going to discuss what we know about it and apply other aspects from other sci-fi universes to kind of explain a few things. And eventually, maybe down the road, we'll get into a full episode on the ship and learn how many rivets it has, what kind of drive it employs, the gauge of wire in the consoles, things like that. All the hard facts about the ship. So, what are we looking at today, Samuel?
Well, it is worth mentioning, guys, that if you want to see these full episodes, you must support us on Patreon, a monthly donation service, because it's the only way we can keep these full shows coming to you every single, we don't know yet, but regularly. But today, Stuart, we're looking at a fun one. I don't think, well, okay, you brought in an older version, but I'm going to bring in a newer version in the sense of it's a cartoon ship, and it's the Planet Express ship from Futurama.
Oh,
Have you seen
excellent.
Futurama, Stuart?
I believe I've seen Futurama. I don't know. It's a pretty good show.
He's doing
one of my
Samuel.
favorites, actually.
Straight off the bat, thank you so much to Barry Chapman, who you hopefully guys know the name of now. He's one of our 3D modelers, and he built this Planet Express ship pretty quickly. I asked for it, and he built it. And then another guy, David, he helped surface setting, make it look even prettier, and I've gone ahead and lit it. So it's a nice little group effort, this model. So thanks so much, guys, and you guys get to enjoy it. And I've got this for future times. But Stuart, so Futurama.
Yes.
What do you think of the show, and then what do you think of the ship?
Well, like I said, the show is fantastic. I think it's way cleverer and better than actually The Simpsons.
Yep.
But I'm glad it's survived its cancellation and came back and all that. And,
A couple of times.
yeah, really entertaining show. And I love the Planet Express ship. It's very retro, Buck Rogers kind of 1950s spaceship looking, and I think it's great. So
It's also bright green.
yes, this is true.
Yeah, it's very much a rocket ship, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I have this, I don't know, I don't have that same, it's just a rocket ship vibe. I get something more from it. I don't know if because the way we saw it in the show, but I have a really personal love for the ship. I think it's such a cool little thing. When Futurama came out so many years ago that I don't remember any first impression. But obviously as we grew close to the crew, I don't think it was it wasn't like part of the, it wasn't a character like the Enterprise was, but it was their trusty steed, that would always be there and could survive everything and anything.
In one episode, it did become a female.
Sigourney Weaver,
And-
yeah.
Yeah, it had a personality, so yeah.
It's true. It was dating Bender, and it was amazing. Okay, well, what do you think of the design then? We'll just hit some broad strokes here, and then we'll go into obviously the specifics like we always do.
It's so simple and not necessarily. It's not cluttered with stuff you don't need. Everything serves a purpose. There's nothing extraneous on it. There's no detailing that you don't need. I just think it's a simplistic, great design. It almost holds that in common with the TOS Enterprise. Very sleek hull, but nothing very complicated.
Yeah.
Plus, you gotta love the big gun on the top because it just really.
And just for Barry's ego, what do you think of his 3D model? The real life reproduction of the cartoon ship.
It's great. I'm sure it didn't take him long to model either, because it is so simple. Simple shapes and stuff.
He told me that because of the curvature, it took him quite a few iterations. He actually had to build it 3 times, I believe, to get the shapes right. Yeah, but I asked him to make everything physical and anyway. So, but Stuart, what do you think the scale is of this ship? That's what we always ask, and I've obviously done a bit of research and things. What's your take on how big the ship is, what it can handle, that sort of thing?
Well, we've seen it in show. Plus, you got the portholes there and the windows. You've seen it fly by and they zoom in the window and stuff. So, I would say not very big. 40 feet, maybe 50 feet around there.
What's that in meters, though?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, how do you compare it to, say, a runabout or such things? Because obviously we'll see that in a minute.
I'd probably be about 2.5 times as long as a runabout, I would think.
Okay.
Would be my guess. I don't know.
That's good. So what's interesting about this is it's a cartoon, and they don't tend to specify scaling things. The night, and I looked vaguely, but there was no information. I didn't even bother going for fan extrapolations because there's an easy way to tell, Stuart. That dome on the top with the gun can fit a person in. So I just took my 6-foot colonial pilot from BSG, put him in as the appropriate size based on Fry that you saw in the show, and scaled it to that. So it's
Nice.
it's rough, but it's pretty close to what it's going to be. So let's go to then the next picture, the first scale shot, the top shot.
Oh.
What do you think?
Smaller than I anticipated. Absolutely.
That doesn't happen on Fleetyards often. Normally it's bigger.
Yeah. It's the size of a runabout, essentially.
Yeah, kinda. I love seeing it. So it's such a simple cartoon ship next to real ships. I love it. It's just a funny little. It looks so funny.
We know it's got at least 2 or 3 decks. I mean, it's a cargo ship. So it's got the lower deck with the cargo hold, and yeah, you got the main bridge, you got the rear part, and I would say at least 2 decks, possibly 3.
Yeah.
At least 2, or maybe not 3. I don't know.
So it's certainly smaller than I thought. Although, if you think of it from the show, it really was just a to B sort of taxi ship. Its cargo hold was never like, the Falcon or Serenity or like an actual big. It's like a single box or 2 boxes. They're a parcel delivery company. They're giving small parcels. That's sort of the joke.
Yeah.
But what do you think compared to the other side? I mean, all these models are studio apart from the X-Wing and the Gunstar and the Runabout. But all the other ones are studio models, and I put an X-Wing in there because last time you said, what's it compared to Star Wars ships? I didn't have a scaling, so now I've put them in so you can see it. Just for you, Stuart.
Well, thank you. I would have thought the X-Wing would have been a lot smaller compared to this, but I mean,
things are bulky. Things are bulky and clunky. It's kind of strange, actually. Sometimes tech, like Star Trek tech, is so small you can fit 2 people and a cabin, but then a Viper, has all the engine, and an X-Wing has all the engine plus that bulk. It's all interestingly relative. I mean, just the size of that Gunstar engine is the size of a Type 9 shuttle, and it's all very relative.
Yeah. Now, what did you think when you first saw the size after scaling it? Did you think it was smaller than you originally anticipated?
Like I said, I hadn't really considered it. It actually gives a more perspective of the fact that it was the in-joke. It was just a parcel delivery company. It was meant to be something small, of a cheap rust bucket ship. Although in the show, they don't have thrust. The universe moves around them. That's the drive that he developed.
Yeah.
And it's fueled by dark matter. That's poop dark matter for the most part. So it's for Nibbler. So it's a very advanced chip in itself. But yes and no. But it was a cartoon, and I just find it interesting, that it's this size. But it does put into perspective how many rooms there would be, and that's obviously what we were going into in a second. And when we see the next picture, you'll see the depth of it, which will give you a better indication. But it's certainly not that huge Falcon. It's not that huge Firefly. It is a taxi, intergalactic taxi almost.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested in seeing how it looks from the side compared to other ships. So let's go to the next picture.
Yes. And I happen to have thrown in a couple of extra ones for you just to give even more context. The Millennium Falcon, because come on, that's also a cargo ship, and also Colonial Viper, Raptor. Sorry, because that's there's several rooms in that. Well, there's a room, several people, so it's more passenger space.
Mm.
What do you think about this, Stuart?
See, this makes the scale look a little off for me because we've seen people on Star Trek standing beside a runabout, going through the door. You can see the door there, it's person size. But when the ship's landed in its bay on Futurama, and it's got the gear down, it just seems so much bigger. And I don't know if that's because it is a cartoon and they didn't really consider drawing it to scale every time. It just seems bigger in the show to me. Unless the people in Futurama are like 4 feet tall or something.
See, I agree with you, but actually, that you're right. That door is perfect for runabout. That's the size of a door. So you can see the Planet Express ship is 2 decks big in the middle bit, and that's where the crew are. But you've got to consider the landing legs are another full person tall. So you've got 3.5 times a person's height. And if you see the scale, that's still going to tower above you. It's taller than the Millennium Falcon. If you're standing next to the Millennium Falcon, you would still think, "Ooh, that's a pretty big ship." So I think it roughly is what I considered. It's difficult to comprehend, but I think it would still feel pretty big. I mean, I'd love to put a car. That'd be kind of interesting to put a normal car next to this, That would have been. We should probably do that for these smaller ships in the future to give a real world sense. But even a Colonial Viper, it's not big, but you can't. You stand next to it and you're just barely. You can't climb in without a ladder. So it is that big. So yes and no, and we know the Millennium Falcon is a single deck with obviously space underneath the cargo, and so it does kind of fit that. And I looked online. I'm looking online as part of this, and it is slightly a TARDIS ship, I think. But it says this is what it says: the rooms, and try and visualize this if you can. At least 3 bedrooms, bathroom complete with shower, engine room, the ship's brain room. That's obviously from the Sigourney Weaver episode. The laundry room, the bridge, basement, lion den, kitchen, cargo hold, dining room, game room, and panic room.
Yeah, there's a few too many rooms there for sure. I was picturing the bedrooms, and that worked, and then he started going on and continuing. I'm like, no. It's got the TARDIS effect going on. It's got the Starbug effect going on.
Yes. Well, it is green. It is
exactly.
green. Ow.
I don't know if the color was actually a nod to
I
Red
can't
Dwarf,
imagine.
maybe.
No, I can't. I think they just thought what would be a funny odd colour. It does. It certainly stands out, doesn't it?
It does,
to all these
yeah,
other famous vehicles. Although again, comparing how many rooms, I see the bridge of a runabout is, I would say, about the same size as the bridge of the Planet Express ship. So pretty big. It might not be as deep though. So that's one big room. Now, if you cut that off, it maybe goes to that first porthole, but not too much more. You can easily fit, because the runabout has like 3 extra rooms. It has 2 bedrooms. It has a big conference room. If you put all those things put together, plus the bottom part has that big cargo bay, and plus you can probably fit 2-3 other rooms, after that. So I think it's pushing it, but that hull is very thin because it's just an advanced metal, so it is using every iota of space. So I'm obviously they put a few too many rooms in, but I think you could probably fit 3 bunks. I mean, not bedrooms per se, but bunks, and a kitchen is probably also, the dining room is also the conference room. yeah. So I think it does mostly work, but obviously they could keep adding rooms because why not? Does this make you feel okay? This is quite an interesting plethora of sci-fi ships. From Star Wars, which is thousands of years ago, millions of years ago. Star Trek: The Future, Stargate, or the Gould there. The present but advanced, and then you got X-wings again, the past, and Raptor, which is the future, which is actually the past, and then all these different iterations of technology, all huge different levels of advancement. What do you think, seeing Futurama, this big green ship, technology-wise, compared to everything else that we see here?
You mean like timeline-wise, as far as?
No, I just mean like what technology it has compared to everything else. Like, how do you think it compares? And given its size, is it advanced? Is it not advanced? Is it rustic? I mean, what would you say?
I would say rustic. I think for the time that it's in the show,
Which
it is an older ship.
3,000. It's 3,000.
Yeah. I think it's an old ship that was acquired by them and repainted. And it is a rust bucket.
I think he actually built it. I
Did
think
he?
Farnsworth built. Yeah, I think Farnsworth built it because it's his engine. So I know it's mostly
there you go.
it's mostly his tech, but I think he built it.
I always thought it was very simplistic with his technology. I mean, the switches and stuff we see and the way they fix it, it just seems so. I don't know. It's like the 1960s Enterprise. There's like switches and physical buttons, and there's no touchscreens or anything. It seems like a hands-on kind of ship, and not super advanced. I mean, the engine section is probably very advanced because that engine can really move that ship and
moves the universe.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty advanced.
And the dark matter that fuels it is pretty cool. But yeah, I never really saw it as being super advanced. We're looking too much into this. It's a cartoon for crying out loud.
Look how much time I spent on these renders. Of course we are.
So yeah, I see it more of as like a more rustic ship. Yeah, I like the word rustic. And Farnsworth is old, so when did he build it? Like, how old was he? Probably not that old. He was probably Fry's age when he built it, maybe. Who knows? So how long has it been around?
That's true, but just more paint in it. It cleans it right up. I think this could be the most advanced ship on the board here in one way, and that's the engine power. They can cross the galaxy.
Yeah.
Without any issue. Well, I guess the galaxy crosses around them, But you know what I mean? The Star Wars still takes you days. Star Trek can take you weeks and months. I think it's probably the fastest vessel out of this whole bunch. I think.
I would say so, yeah.
In terms of weapons, you know, it doesn't have, which is kind of a strange thing to say. I don't know it has shields, but then logic of cartoons is never an issue. And it's probably one of the most advanced weaponry ships there, because it actually has torpedoes. It says on the data, it has 2 forward, 2 aft. Yeah.
Torpedoes are there, yeah.
Awesome.
I don't know where the aft ones would be, but...
Yeah, well, yeah. And obviously that top is a laser gun, so it already beats, you know, all the Battlestar and Babylon 5 stuff that use, you know, guns and what. Yeah.
I got to point something out, because I'm looking at my ship and there's something on it that's not on the 3D model, and there's like a little door there, and like a ladder almost.
Yeah, Barry.
So that door looks a lot smaller than the one that would be on the runabout.
Barry, Mr. Detail.
I can't. It won't focus, unfortunately.
No, I understand. Yeah, that's true. No, yeah, there should be a door there.
So if you scale to that door size, I think it might be a little bit bigger than this.
That's interesting.
But then again, maybe the people in the future are much smaller. I don't know. Maybe Fry's short.
I also think that the door in Futurama was very much the exact size of a person. Like, you have sort of crouch to get through. It's an emergency hatch. It's not how they get out primarily. Whereas a runabout door is a nice big, you know, Federation door with headroom, and so that it's bigger anyway. Is my guess.
Yeah.
So I'm still pretty confident with this, at least in real world terms.
Yeah, having said that, I'm sure this is more like a naval kind of door hatch where you got to crouch to get through and stuff. So yeah, scaling it with the runabout's door that's just above it, I think you're pretty much very close with that size.
Yeah.
So
and it's all obviously fictional anyway. But yeah, it's just cool to see all other ships. But let's not linger. Let's go to the next picture. So this is the aft. And I made sure I put some lights on this nice bright, because we'll see later on, but there's like 18 different engine ports, and I just put flares. But it actually looks very powerful when you put them all together. I mean, what do you think of the design of the aft? See, how cool does it look in real life lighting? I just think I think it looks kind of cool.
It does look cool. The aft design looks amazing. I love the fins on this thing. I think they really show a sleekness. Oh, I stole your word again. And plus, to tie in with the older sci-fi stuff, the rings on the tips of the fins are much like the rings on, like you see on blasters and things from different sci-fi franchises. It's just there for whatever reason. I like it. I think it looks very, very fast.
Yes,
it gives an impression of being fast.
It does. And I like that, you know, it's such a small ship, you can see the rivets holding the fins into the hull.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming, I mean, what do you think I'm guessing venting is on the side. Obviously, just need a detail there, and you're right, the door should be there as well. But what do you think about the venting? Is it a vent? Is the engine vents? Is it intake facades, perhaps, in a sense?
Could be an intake system to cool the engine. I don't know. I would say some kind of venting or intake valves. Yeah, because it's got that Venetian blind look, where it looks like it can open and close, perhaps. So.
Well, it's funny because we did actually see that in the show. Their engines are literally like you shove coal into a burning furnace.
Yeah.
Literally, it's quite silly.
All right, so let's go to the next picture. Another shot from kind of below.
What do you think of that logo?
The logo's awesome. I love the logo. It's so simple but so cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the curves of this. It's sort of fat, but not quite.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, because I was going to say the last view made it look very fast, but then when you kind of move around to the front, it gets very bulbous and like a blimp almost, and you're like, that's not going to be very quick. But yes, yeah, it's funny the way that perspective changes things.
Yep. It's cool though. The next picture is again on the side, the front, and we are missing, you know, the hatch and the torpedoes. I might have to get Barry to do version 2. A couple little details here, but yeah, there would be a hatch. There would be the cargo bay door there, which is the primary cargo area, and again, it's not huge, but it's big enough. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Again, in the Firefly, you know, Serenity vein, it's just big cargo bay zone. I mean, why not? It's just like a plane now. You know, the top front has the pilot. passengers, and then at the bottom it's the cargo. I mean, it's a super realistic, 2 + 2 = 4 sort of starship.
Yeah. Although knowing how it lands and the landing gear configuration with that front one swinging down and being stairs, almost makes you wonder where is stored, because it doesn't have a lot of room. Really, it would take up a lot of room to do that. Plus, the other two are back here, and they just come down. They're just regular. But yeah, I think we got some of the TARDIS effect going on because it's an animated show. I think that they don't really, or they like playing with the idea of adding more rooms each show. I think to kind of have people go, huh?
Yeah, I mean, just that. I mean, that whole Daisy, Sigourney Weaver whole thing as a huge room. It's like, but.
Time to turn off your brain and just enjoy the fun.
Yeah.
But Fleetyards ruins that for us because we have to look at this kind of stuff.
It's our job. It is.
It is indeed. And the next picture is a close-up of the front window. Again, this ship, I don't have a problem having a window on the bridge because it's a small ship. It's like the Millennium Falcon. It's not a starship as like the Enterprise in the JJ verse with the window. Just stop it. This one makes sense. So
hell of a wraparound, isn't it? This is a lot of field of view with this.
There is. I just realized something. The front of this ship looks very similar to the Klingon bird of prey. It's even got the red cloaking ring.
Yeah. Do you think that's a slight homage? Because I mean, if you take a look at their shapes, are pretty similar considering.
Could be. Yeah.
Could be. I mean, I remember from the show that Leela who pilots the ship, is in the middle of the bridge, has her monitor, sees around. There's actually like a sofa in the middle of the front, so you can just look, which is quite an interesting design. Again, why not? I mean, you've got this great field of view, and then consoles around you a little bit. It's
not a military ship. It's just a ship, right? So.
I don't really remember seeing them use portholes in the show. I feel like they did, but I just can't remember them.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Okay.
You can see them on the side of the bridge and stuff. So.
Okay. And the next picture is the world famous, also powerful turret thing. Any thoughts on the turret thing, Stuart?
I would assume this just fires energy pulses or bolts. Because I don't think there's any storage space for ammunition of any kind.
Yeah, no, it's just a laser gun.
But yeah, it makes sense. It's just simple. Like I said, it's not a military ship, so it doesn't need a whole lot of firepower. But got a pretty good field of movement there if you can go 360 and kind of tilt it up and down a little bit.
Yeah, it's I do like those. A single person cannon. It's very much like Star Wars. Even they go to top and bottom. They have that cannon. They move around. It's like a spinny thing. They don't use it that often, considering. But I remember being very powerful in the show. They can take out things. It's all very fast firing. It's basically a pulse cannon. But I wouldn't necessarily want to be in there because you feel very
exposed.
Yeah, a little bit. But it's a natural place to put a weapon, and obviously got the torpedoes as well, and it's just adds detail to the hull, really. It's good.
Yeah. And the next picture is the engine detailing, where you see all the little thrust ports. Now, it's cool, too, because that big part, I know, does move. And this is like, I would assume for, not when they're in warp, or whatever they want to call it, where they're moving the universe. This is more for going down to the planet's surface and stuff. Some of these smaller ones, I think, perhaps. And then combined, then they form whatever it does that moves the universe. Here we're getting way too techy for an animated show, but there's no other there's no impulse drives or smaller drives on this thing. So I would assume that's just some of these used with less power, or with other ones turned off, would be the slower speed.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think this is the sublight, and then whatever internal drive is the faster drive gives it that extra punch. It works because it works. But yeah, this is definitely that you can move the universe, but why would you move the universe if you can just go down to a planet with normal thrust? Why not? But yeah, it's cool. It's pretty busy back there. But it works well. I mean, it's a very simple ship, and it's nice to talk about it for a little while. But it's I don't think there's anything wrong with the ship. They had a really simple design, but it's really, really well done.
Yeah. Although I got to bring up one thing real quick.
Yeah.
One thing I've always wondered with ships that move the universe around the ship.
Mm-hmm.
What about other ships that are doing the same thing at the same time, moving the universe? How do they all move in relation to each other when the universe is the one that's moving? Does it just?
Well, I believe this is meant to be the one of a kind. This is because he invented it, and Farnsworth is like a mega ultra genius. But my assumption in this completely nonsense fictional, so bullshit explanation is that when the universe is moving, then every other ship that has to be moving just goes with the tides, moves with it, and then moves it more, and then everyone just sort of maybe moves only the portion of the universe it's in.
Don't buy that, but that's okay. I'm sure there's some kind of quantum mechanics explanation for this that, Neil deGrasse Tyson, we should get him on the show if he could explain it to us.
Neil, Futurama Planet Express.
I think he would love this discussion talking about moving the universe around a ship. But anyway,
I would get lost and confused.
It's not hard to do.
What?
No,
Oh.
What? I didn't say anything.
He's so nice to me, everybody, isn't he? Is that it then, Stuart?
Good news, everyone! This is the last picture, which is the first picture. So yes. So there, we took a look at an animated Planet Express ship.
Yes.
Interesting choice. It's kind of been on our to-do list for a while since we started Fleetyards mission briefings.
Has it been? I thought I just sprung this one on you.
Nope.
Oh,
no.
Because you mentioned, you were thinking it secretly, and I got Barry to make a model that telling you, and then I was like, oh, here it is, and you're like...
Well, I have this one in front of me all the time. I got this from my Loot Crate or Nerd Block, I can't remember, but it's a QMX little model, which is cool.
Very cool.
So it's always sitting up there, and I'm always looking at it, and yeah, it's always been on my to-do list, so hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did. I love this ship. I think it's a great... I love the retroness of it. It does feel like a Buck Rogers ship. You should have like smoke coming out of the back when it's flying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a cool take on an older design. So.
And I genuinely can't wait to this in the full episode because we can do animations with it, seeing it flying at the Enterprise, flying to DS9. That to see this never before seen ship in sort of a more real setting. That'd be so cool. I can't wait to make those. So support on Patreon, guys, if you want to get that. We need to hit the 1,000 goal and beyond, so we can get these regular episodes coming to you. But is there any other way they can support the show, Stuart?
There is indeed. You can go over to Trekyards.com, and there's a donate button. Click that if you want to make a one-time donation instead of being a monthly Patreon supporter. And don't forget, guys, if you like the show, please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, as always. And if you want to make sure you never miss any of our releases, because we do a lot of them, and if it's something that interests you, just click the little bell notification button and make sure that you get all of our new releases as they come out. So,
yeah, and that's it for them for this week. So I guess tune in next week for another Fleetyards mission briefing and Trekyards and Trekyards mission briefing and everything.
Exactly. So until next time, everybody, kiss my shiny metal ass.
That's what we're going out on, is it?
Or is it bite my shiny metal ass?
Ay caramba.
It's a good one. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.